Why do we have to accept failure from the Phillies in situations like the Mets this weekend? We're going to continue this conversation from yesterday on multiple shows on this platform. We're going to talk about the Phillies win last night against the Reds. Bryce Harper starting that rehab assignment. That is huge. And we're bringing back for the second time the great segment, What's Trending, where we randomly see what's trending on Twitter and we talk about it all. Trending the AM starts in 30 seconds.
Gets around in front. And Philadelphia has it.
And good morning, everybody. What's happening this morning? Welcome to Trending in the AM right here on DSM Media Live, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. You know the drill. Like, retweet, share, follow, do all the great stuff you do to help us continue to grow the show every single morning. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that like button, that subscribe button. If you're watching on other platforms, if you want to get interactive with the show, make sure you head over to the YouTube page. That's where I can put your comments, thoughts, concerns, like these examples right up on the screen. This is not an example. Good morning, Big Ed. How you doing today? We got lots of Phillies to talk about today. I want to continue yesterday's conversation. We started on the morning show. Jason got a little red, little Irish red.
Little heated, little spirited debate.
I was a little concerned that an eyeball blood vessel was going to pop. And then I know you went and did pregame live yesterday, and you continued it on your own on that. And I want to continue this discussion about accepting failure just because another team on paper is better. We are going to get into the positives. The Phillies win. We definitely will. But Dylan, by the way, that's Dylan Davis right there. I'm Phil Stifle. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. I forget that sometimes I got these sound effects here. I don't use them enough. So, we'll throw that in there. Dylan, I want you to, for those that didn't watch pregame live yesterday, which you should, you should be subscribed to DSM Media. You should have the notifications turned on. So when Dylan goes live for pregame, you know what's happening. I want you to give me a recap of basically your thoughts on why you thought it was not as big of a deal losing 3 out of 4 to the Mets yesterday or this weekend.
So, all right, let me try to phrase this correctly because I'm 50% with you. I'm 50% on the other side of things from you. I'm not excusing the Phillies' performance over the weekend. If you want to blame Rob Thompson, if you want to blame Nola and Wheeler, you want to blame the players, you want to get pissed off that New York fans took over Citizens Bank Park, I'm with all of it. I'm not excusing that they lost 3 or 4 games to a rival again, and the Mets seem to be in their heads. What I'm talking about and what I spoke on the pregame show last night was taking everything in the total landscape and how I'm seeing all this overreaction. I know it's Tuesday now, but all this overreaction yesterday about how the Phillies are no longer a good team. They're not a playoff team, or if they are a playoff team, they're going to get bounced in the first round because they only beat the good teams on their schedule, Phil. And that I can't get behind. That is total and utter BS to me because I don't know how many times I have to spell out how they've done against other playoff teams this year, against good playoff teams this year. I'll lay it out again. Last time I want to do it. They had the season series over the Dodgers. They had the tiebreakers over the Brewers, Cardinals, and Padres. They're 500. They're 6-6 against the big, bad defending World Series champs with the Atlanta Braves, and they play them 7 more times through the rest of the year. And this is all without Bryce Harper and Gene Seager, undermanned all year long. They're no longer a good team. Can't do anything in the playoffs because they struggle against one specific team. I'm not here to excuse how they looked. I'm not here to be like, well, the Mets are better. I hate that. I don't like that, right? But it does not make the Phillies no longer a playoff contender. That's the part that I can't wrap my mind around, and people just want to overreact because it's New York and the Mets beat the Phillies' ass this weekend.
All right, so there's a lot to unpack from what you had to say there. But here's how I'm looking at it. Everything you said is correct. You know, the other teams that we've played well against, the Mets having our number, the Mets being maybe one of the top 2 or 3, the Astros, right. Maybe the Yankees. I mean, the Yankees are playing pretty bad right now. Maybe the Mets are the second best team in baseball at this point.
The Dodgers.
The Dodgers too. Sorry, that was the other team I was thinking of there. So it's the Mets, the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Astros. Astros probably 1 in my opinion, Dodgers 2, and then from there. But why are we not allowed to hold this team accountable? I don't care that the Mets have our number. We have to be able to hold this team accountable. You went up against the Mets team that has our number, better team, leaps and bounds, no questions asked. But you went up against a team that didn't have their best 2 pitchers going in 4 games. You went out there flat as can be. No energy, no emotion, no fight. You didn't see anything of that. You had a manager in a big moment make mistakes as a manager, and all people that want to call this out are told us that they're haters. It's the Mets. It's okay.
Now,
why isn't it okay to be critical of your look? Let's compare it to other teams. The Eagles. You know, everybody that says that they're not Jalen Hurts supporters is because they lost to the Buccaneers badly in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. But the Buccaneers were obviously, hands down, they were the defending Super Bowl champions. They made a deep run in the playoffs. It's okay to be critical in that situation of a lesser team losing to a better team in a moment in the playoffs, let alone with a bunch of young kids that have never been in the playoffs going up against Tom Brady. But yet this week, it's not okay to criticize a team for coming up small in a huge moment in front of you. Had 40+ thousand fans. Yes, some of them were Mets in that stadium this weekend. And it's wrong to criticize them for all these reasons that are laid out.
I don't think it's holding them accountable. What I'm arguing is there's a difference from holding this team accountable and being pissed off and criticizing them for their play this past specific weekend and wrapping that up, declaring that they're no longer a good team, declaring that they only beat bad teams. That's why they have a good record, declaring that they won't do anything in the first round of the playoffs, when I can lay out time and time again that the Mets are the only team they've struggled with. I'm not excusing what they did. Rob Thompson came up, and we can have that conversation as well. I agree with you, but there's a lot that goes into it. When you don't have Knebel, when you lose Sir Anthony, when the bullpen shot,
but see, I can counter that. You know, you knew you didn't have Sir Anthony. You knew you did not have Knebel. The fan base didn't know it because they hadn't reported that before the game.
Right.
Rob Thompson knew it. So why is he throwing David Robertson out there in the 8th inning, knowing he's got nobody coming in the 9th inning? Why? No, I'm not trying to say Bilotti is his better option. There was one game this weekend. It was either one of the Saturday games or Sunday when we didn't have anybody, and he threw Alvarado in the 5th inning. I'm not saying Alvarado's a closer.
No, I get you.
Alvarado's a high leverage guy, and you went and you wasted him in the 5th inning.
Right.
So you could say Rob Thompson knew all this ahead of time. He knew he didn't have these guys available. Yet he goes and he throws David Robertson for 2 innings because he didn't have anybody else to go. Well, that's poor job on his part.
It is. But there's also the other side of it. Like, obviously Wheeler and Nola came up incredibly small in their first 2 starts.
And why is nobody complaining or calling them out?
I don't know. That part I don't like. That part, yes.
They
I agree
absolutely need, because just to preface, I don't know if you saw the first 30 seconds of the show yesterday. I said in the beginning, we need to call out Wheeler, Nola, and Thompson. It's not just Rob Thompson.
Right.
You've got the 2 Cy Young candidate pitchers. It would be like saying you have a guy it's like the Philly Eagles fans. Carson Wentz was about to win MVP, and then he tanked and he started to stink. So we called him out. We need to call out Aaron Nola and Zach. I'm not saying they had to go 7 shutout innings against the Mets offense. No. But going 4 innings and giving up 7 runs, that's 100%. Unacceptable.
100%. And at home. And Wheeler more specifically also, because Nola, not that they cancel out, but Nola dealt a gem against Scherzer the previous weekend in New York. Wheeler struggled in back-to-back series against the Mets, and we need him to step up. But just going back to Rob Thompson real quick, like, trust me, I get it. And it's David Robertson called for the ball. Great on his part. Thompson doesn't have to okay it. Coonrod was warmed. whatever you want to say. But at the same time, it's not Rob Thompson's fault that Kyle Gibson blew a 4-run lead and he had no command through 5 innings. It's not Rob Thompson's fault that he brings in Connor Brogdon, who's been fine this year. He gives up a 3-run blast after the rain delay. Then Rob Thompson presses the correct button, hits Gene Segura. He ropes one to take the lead in the bottom of the 8th. It looked like the smartest decision of the year. Robertson wants the ball. He gives the veteran the ball. He wanted to help his team out. It bit them in the ass. I get all of that. It's okay to hold them accountable. I'm not saying that. But let me ask you something. You specifically.
Absolutely.
You're holding them accountable.
Mm-hmm.
Do you still think they're a good team? And outside of the Mets, if they don't see the Mets in the first round, healthy, getting Bryce back, getting Sir Anthony back, can they win a playoff series against the Brewers?
Can they? All right, so you got to rephrase your question. Can they make the playoffs? Absolutely. I still think they make the playoffs. But can they win the playoff series? I don't have massive confidence in them winning a playoff
why?
series.
But why? Just because
it's not just the Mets. I mean, they have lost. Who did they get swept by right before the All-Star break? The Cubs? Or the Marlins?
Yeah, the Cubs.
Or right after the All-Star break. Look, the Phillies have shown time in and time again this year. Yes, they're a good team, but they come up small in big moments.
But I just
and
the Dodgers.
They're so inconsistent, Dylan. How can you a team
not.
that they have lost 4 or 5 games in a row just as many times as they've won 4 or 5 games in a row this year?
Not since Rob Thompson's taken over, though. That just happened recently.
No. That's wrong. Because I did the math the other day. New set of notes. He went 14-2, 15-2 when he first started. You take that out, they're 30. This is in the middle of the Mets series, so I don't know what the updated numbers. They were something like 32 and 27 after that stretch. That's just barely better than 500 ball.
I mean, so here, my point. But they're doing
like 85 wins or something like that outside of that big spark stretch there.
Since Rob Thompson's become manager, outside of the 2 series against the Mets when they've gotten crushed, they've won every series outside of the Cubs series and the Mets series that I can count back to. And that's the only thing you can ask them to do is to continue to win series. And we're just getting we agree. They're making the playoffs. With this schedule, getting Bryce back, the Brewers a game and a half behind them. Maybe, still a game and a half behind them now. But they're not. I don't think they're going to catch them. My difference in opinion is just because they flop against the Mets. When I think John Stolness tweeted something out yesterday even. The year, it might have been in 2008 when, Stairs hit a shot into the night and they beat them in that series. I forget what year it was. The Phillies were 1-11 against the Dodgers in the regular season. That's what they did in the postseason. Beat them. I'm not saying it's apples to oranges here, but there's a difference, man. And when I tell you that they've beaten the Padres, they've beaten the Cardinals, they've beaten the Brewers, they've beaten the Dodgers, they have a chance to win the season series over the Braves. Just because they lose to the Mets, who might be a top 2 team in baseball, shouldn't mean they can't win a playoff series anymore.
All right. So here we go. And I'm going to go back a little further, okay? Because obviously you don't want to talk about the Mets, the losses there. You don't want to talk about getting swept by the Cubs. But since Rob Thompson has taken over, you had 4 straight losses before the All-Star break to Toronto and St. Louis. You had 3 straight losses to Texas and Washington. You had 5 straight losses to the Mets in San Francisco. You had 5 out of 6 losses to the Dodgers, who are great and all, and San Diego. I get that. So it's not like Rob.
That was before Thompson.
Oh shit! I went back too far on that one. I went back too far on that one there. But this team has shown time in and time again that they can't consistently be really good. I said yesterday that starting yesterday, they had 22 games against non-playoff teams. I wanted to see them go 16-6. That's winning every series, basically.
Right.
And I think that includes sweeping
one sweep.
One sweep, whatever it is. So even 15-7. But I don't have the confidence that there is going to not be that one series where they go and they lose 2 straight to the Reds and then 2 in the next series to the Pirates or whatever it may be, because this team is inconsistent. Their bats are inconsistent. Nick Castellanos seems to maybe then you have somebody like Kyle Schwarber who's hot and then goes and strikes out 4 times. What was I accidentally closed
He
up
did.
the box.
So hold on. So
But what was the top of the order last night? Hoskins and Schwarber were what, like 0 for like 300 last night?
Yeah, but they won, and Castellanos, again, knock on wood, seems to be back. Like
You had 0 for
the way
8 from
he
the
hit last
top of
night.
the order last night was 6 strikeouts. And
Right.
I'm not calling them out for that. Not calling them out for that. But those stretches happen with this team way too frequently.
Little sidebar to bring in some humor here. I don't know if you watched Kyle Schwarber's at bats. Schwarber got sat down. Schwarber got sat down his first 3 times looking on a full count, and none of them were strikes. Schwarber, I thought, was going to fight the ump. But
I want to ask you something here.
No,
on the sidebar.
and this, that's what I kind of agree with that. Like, I get it, it's and I'm not saying it's the excuse, right? But you brought up like the Toronto thing, and they lost the 2 games in Toronto. Ugly losses. Dude, they didn't have Bryce and Gene, and then JT and 3 other dudes couldn't go because of COVID, and Boehm and Nola couldn't go because of COVID restrictions. That's not the Phillies losing to the Blue Jays straight up. That's why, like, again, they're not better than the Mets. Do not get it twisted. But even if they see the Mets in the playoffs, am I picking the Phillies? No. But who the Mets just beat are not the Phillies they're going to see in the playoffs.
Right, but here, and I want to get to a sidebar on Schwarber in a minute, and all, but I want to address this. Why do you think all of a sudden, magically, come the playoffs, that the Phillies are going to be I mean, Knievel's gone for the year. You say Cervantes going to come back. You're confident that Cervantes is just going to magically come back and be fine?
He's supposed to be back in 4 days.
Start hitting home runs again? Or Harper's just going to magically... You're just assuming that everyone's going to be back and healthy come the playoffs.
But I feel like you're assuming because they lose to the Mets, they can't beat other good teams when they've done it all year shorthanded. Like, regardless of who's hot, who's cold, I can keep reading it. They've won every season series over the top playoff teams in the NL outside of New York. So why, if they see the Cardinals in the first round, they can't beat the Cardinals now because they lost to the Mets? I'm not saying you're saying they definitely can't, but I've seen a lot of people say it, dude. Like, after this Mets series, TikTok, Twitter, they suck now, apparently.
Yeah, and look, and I phrase these questions. I have not said they suck. I don't think they're not going to play. But I'm also the guy that said they were only going to win 82 games this year because I realistically saw the hole in this team, and they are realistically on pace to win 88 to 90 games now. That's 6 to 8 games is a massive difference. You know what I mean? That's huge. 82 wins and 88 wins, big difference. Mm-hmm. I just on an extra note, getting to the playoffs, even if everybody gets healthy, even if everybody's clicking, how many guys on this team actually have playoff experience?
Well, yeah, and that's
another thing that I'm taking into account here when I say I don't think they can win it. I don't think they play St. Louis in the first round. They probably play the Braves. It's probably the way it's going to shake.
Well, no, if they finish 3, they'll play St. Louis.
Yeah, I still don't think, because gotta be, even if I'm as down as I am on this team right now, we do have 22 straight games against non-playoff teams. We are going to if we go 16-6, that puts us somewhere in the neighborhood of 22 games over 500.
Yeah,
that's not a 6 seed. That's probably putting us. That means that they're
right. You might not catch it. Right, you might not catch Atlanta.
Games. What's that? 92-70. If you go 20 to what 6, that far, dude, they're not going to finish in the 6th seed if that's the case. Maybe they even finish in the. No, they're not going to catch the Braves. So, realistically speaking, the best they could do is that 5 spot. It's just, I just don't see enough consistency. I see too much poor at bats, too much bad pitching, too much bad usage of the bullpen. Look, the bullpen. Look, I thought of this and it just popped back into my head before the show. The way Rob Thompson managed the bullpen this weekend. Yes, he was up against the wall, injuries, whatnot. But the way he managed that bullpen, if Joe Girardi was the coach, you would be blasting Joe Girardi for poor bullpen management. But Rob Thompson gets his pass. He's the interim guy, the guy that won us 9 games in a row to start a big stretch.
I'll take a step further. I'll help you rip him a step further. Forget the bringing in Robertson decision. I honestly don't hate it. It bit you in the ass, sure. The part that I hate, Phil, was his decision to leave David Robertson in the game after the 2-run home run. Let him stick around to kind of settle down and get the next 2 outs, which were strikeouts, I believe, then yank him and bring in a dude making his MLB debut in a 1-run game in the 9th inning against the Mets, who got DFA'd yesterday, by the way.
Who is he? Do we even know who he is? Was he like a hot prospect?
Phil,
Did he have good numbers? I don't know who this guy is.
His first pitch that got hung, you could have hit over. Me or you might have been able to hit over the right field.
And I can't hit a beach ball.
That was the most hung 85-mile-an-hour pitch down Broadway I've ever seen. And think about what happens in the very next inning in the bottom 9th. They actually get to Edwin Diaz.
Yeah.
They hit him around. They make some noise. They score a run. It's the first time he's given up a run in like a month plus. But Sears' home run ended up being costly. I'm all for holding them accountable.
You're making my point that you're holding them accountable.
I'm talking about not taking it to the extreme. And I think there's an extreme level of taking away from this series that they can't do anything now, that they're not a good team anymore. Not that you're saying that, but people are.
I think people have to find that middle ground. They're not a bad team like some people are taking it to an extreme. But you can learn from how poorly dealt with this series against the Mets was that they're not a great team. They're not in the stratosphere of the Mets. They're not in the stratosphere of the Braves. I know we've had an okay record against the Braves, but realistically speaking, this team is flawed, and they're not good enough to compete with any team that's a legit contender. Any outside of the top 4, would you consider the Braves?
I think there's
the Braves a legit contender. I mean, they are the defending champions. Would you consider anybody but the Astros,
I guess you have to.
Yankees legit contenders?
I would say the Dodgers, the Mets, the Astros, the Yankees are really bad right now.
Real bad.
Did they beat the Mets last night? I didn't see. I saw it was 3-2. I didn't catch the final score. I probably should have checked that out.
The Yankees won 4-2 last night.
Great. So they won a game against a good team, but before that, they've been really, really bad. And if you want to throw Atlanta in, sure. But I don't consider like the Cardinals, the Padres, like the Twins or the Guardians in the AL. Any of those, I don't consider them true World Series threats. But again, just you get there and crazier things have happened. Think about what Atlanta did last year as the wild card and not having Acuna. Like crazy things happen, man. So you don't know.
And I want to continue this with another thread part of yesterday's show, and I don't know if you addressed this part of it on the pregame show. Is I brought this all up and I started this conversation yesterday because I said that there's a lot of people that want the interim tag removed from Rob Thompson. I say he hasn't done enough to earn the right to be for sure. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people that are way on the wrong side and way too negative, but there's also way too many people on the way too positive side of things. And there's way too many people that say Rob Thompson 100% without a doubt should be the manager of this team next year.
Yeah.
Sure, at this point, he could be in the interview room. But Rob Thompson has not done anything other than light a spark when he first came here that's proven that he deserves, no questions asked, to be the full-time manager of this team going forward.
Yeah, I think that's somewhat silly. And I remember a few weeks back on here on Trending in the AM when we did Overreaction Monday and it was, Rob Thompson deserves it. And yeah, but I think this is why we have to take into account the total landscape of things, how we always talk about, Phil, and wait until October comes and the season finally comes to an end. If they make the playoffs as long as they make the playoffs, I think, he's going to be here.
Because they're going to make the playoffs by regardless of what he does, because the schedule is so easy down the stretch. Now, if they come out, because as the playoff situation is set up, if you're the 5th or 6th seed, you do not get a home game in the first round. Say he goes on the road and beats the Braves, or goes on the road and beats the Cardinals, whoever it is in a 3-game series, you get to the next round. All right, maybe you can give me some kind of convincing that he was able to rally this team against a playoff team on the road. Maybe
I think you're being too hard, man.
I think they're making the playoffs by default because let's be honest. We talk about the top class, the Mets, the Yankees, the Astros, the Dodgers, those teams. Then you've got a very small group of teams that are in the next class. the teams below the Phillies class, there's the A gap, and then there's a big gap between teams in the A group and the B group, and then there's a huge gap between the rest of the teams in this league.
Right, the Marlins, the Giants.
There's one team, the Brewers.
The Brewers.
That's the one team that has a chance. We still got over a month of baseball to go, and there's one team really competing for that last wild card spot. And I don't know what they are today, but the last I looked, they were like
a game and a half.
Game and a half, 2 games. That's it. There's nobody else with a chance to make the playoffs. So there's a huge gap there.
I hear you. I think you're being a little too tough though because of where they were pre-Girardi. And I know you're gonna bring up the initial spark it gave, but I think that's somewhat. And I agree with you. Obviously, it gave a spark to the clubhouse. But I think that's short changing him a bit. Like, I'm not saying he deserves all the credit for the spark.
That's fair. And I think I am harsh on him.
Yeah. No, I'm not. I agree with you. Right now, that's why you need to just wait and see where the season plays out. I think as long as they make the playoffs, he should be here and he will be here. You need a little bit more. That's fine. But I think it's incredibly tough.
We keep talking about 16-6 over this next 22 stretch. What if they go 14? What if he does 14-8? And again, they just barely get into the playoffs. They win 87, 88 games instead of 90 games. That we talk. There's a big gap between 82 wins and 90 wins. There's a big gap between 16-6 and 13-9 or 14-8.
I'm with you.
Stretch. That's a huge gap, but it still gets us into the playoffs. It's how they get into so maybe it's not winning in the playoffs. It's how they get into the playoffs that will matter. If they don't come out and dominate this 22-game stretch, that's a big deal to me.
Here's another thing where I don't think that's going to happen and what I've seen before. And again, to give Thompson more credit to why I think he deserves it. Like, forget the initial spark. I remember sitting on Faithful Fanatics and coming on the show. Probably, when did Bryce get hurt? 2 months ago, a month and a half ago? It was late June. Okay. And Thompson loses him and Segura and 3 of their starting 5 pitchers and still finds ways to win series. But that's not just it. I remember sitting on the shows talking about they were on the outside looking in at the moment. I think they were 2.5 out of 3 games out of a wild card spot behind the Cardinals. And I was sitting here, they lose Harper and Segura, and I'm like, man, this team could realistically be 6-7 games out of because they had the Cardinals for 4, then they had someone else, then the Cardinals again. And I'm like this could get really ugly. And they won both tiebreakers and won both series and got themselves into a playoff spot. So I can't. I've seen it before where adversity is hit and it's like, man, they could really lose ground here. They could really struggle coming up here, and they haven't. And I don't think they will. So 16-6 is the number that I keep seeing. It's a number I agree with. I think 15-7 is the basement. Mm-hmm. Anything above that's a success. And I could they could go 17-5 if they wanted to, especially if you get Bryce back, dude.
So Big Ed saying, will Harper come back and be the vocal leader of the clubhouse? So I want to talk about that, but also Harper coming back in general. Because obviously he's starting today, his rehab assignment. He's going to play every day through Sunday, take Monday off, travel with the team. Is it to Arizona, then San Fran?
I forget. It might, I think it's San Fran.
West Coast series there. He's going to travel, and he should be back next week. So 3 games sooner than the beginning of September. So what is realistic to expect with Harper coming back? Are we going to get that spark like we got with Rob Thompson taking over? Kyle Schwarber's kind of taken over as that leader of this team. Harper never was, in my opinion, that guy in the locker room
who's going to get on your ass.
Tables and stuff. Like, I know you're young, Dylan. To me, you don't really remember living through the '93 series.
No,
I mean, you weren't alive, so you couldn't live through it. But you had 3 leaders on that team that did different things. You had the John Kruk, you had Lenny Dykstra, and you had Darren Dalton. And Big Ed, you remember, talk to your son about this too, Mark. I think Bryce Harper is the Darren Dalton type leader. And what I mean by that, Dylan, there's millions of interviews. And I've met and talked to Tommy Green and Larry Anderson, hung out with them a few times. I've talked to them about this. Darren Dalton wasn't the walk into the clubhouse after a tough loss. dress down the team, talk to me, yo, what the hell did we do? We got to be better. Darren Dalton was the type of leader that sat in his locker room and just sat there. And when you failed, you hated failing because you didn't want to disappoint Darren Dalton because you respected him so much that you were upset because you let him down. And I kind of feel that's Bryce Harper. He's kind of the quieter leader that you just don't want to let down. Does that make sense how I'm describing it?
Yeah, no, 100%. It's weird. I can't get a feeling on this team because
Tommy Green, I love you, buddy.
Yo, shout out Tommy Green gave me free ice cream at the Goose Island bar a couple weeks ago. He was doing a live show outside of the Goose Island bar, and I was sitting there, and he just came up with whatever ice cream, and he's like, "Guys, I can't eat this," and just dropped it off the table. Yeah, but I was drinking a beer, so I was like, to my friend, I didn't want to be rude and be like, "Nah, man, like I'm good," or throw it out. So I was drinking a beer, and I was going to eat a chocolate fudge sundae. So I was like, I slid it, and my friend's like, "I don't want it." I'm like, "Eat it, dude. Like he's right there. Like we're not throwing it away. We're not throwing away Tommy Green's free ice cream." So, so that was a funny story. But I can't get a read on how this locker room plays out. I feel like they're one of the more closed off to the public kind of locker rooms in the city. You know what you're getting with the Sixers. You know how the Eagles locker room is. This team, I feel like there's a lot of leaders on it. I feel like a lot of guys have stepped up, like Schwarber. I feel like Reese is a leader in this ball club. I feel like JT is a leader. I've heard Gibson's a leader, right? I don't know what Bryce's role is in the locker room outside of being the best player on the team. Is that like he leads by example? You don't want to upset him kind of thing, like you mentioned, possibly. But who knows? Maybe he's this happy-go-lucky, open-jawed guy that just talks and lets it fly in the locker room. I have no idea. But I do think if he brings a spark back, and the one thing I not love, because obviously I wish Bryce Harper was back ages ago, but he's not coming back. He's Bryce Harper. And that's the biggest thing. We're not getting a fraction of Bryce Harper in the batter's box when he comes back, just to have him back, just because we need him so desperately. He waited, and he's going to rehab until he is able to be 110% Bryce Harper in the batter's box. And that's key because now you're getting an NL MVP back for the September stretch. And that alone sparked this team.
All right, so I got a question for you. We're going to stay on this Bryce Harper thing here, and it's still a couple days. It's still like a week away, obviously. It looks like Kyle Schwarber. I heard some reports during the game last night. I don't know if one of the guys announcing the game said that there's a good chance that Schwarber might get back into left field today, maybe tomorrow. There's a good chance he's back out in the field. He has to get back in the field because it does seem like Bryce Harper is not going. At first, they were trying to trend him to play the field again. It's not going to happen. He's going to have to DH again. What happens if Kyle Schwarber can't play the field? Then we're in a really, really tough spot here, are we not?
Oh, yeah. Well, then Schwarber's not playing. Like I don't know how else to phrase. He can't play. There's nowhere else to put him because Bryce has to DH. So he has to be okay. Unless, listen, the only other thing I can come up with, and I don't even know if it helps because he still has to play the field, Schwarber can play first, and I've seen Reese play left before. So, brother, if we got to roll that out there, we got to roll that out there.
That is a bad idea. So then what happens now? I mean, obviously Marsh still ways away. Are we going to continue to trot Zimmer out there and, Vierling?
You have to assume Vierling gets the everyday.
It's still a problem right now.
You have to assume Vierling kind of gets the everyday, even though Maton – is Maton better? I want to have a serious conversation. I know we all like Matty V, right? He's a car shield guy, right? What's he hitting this year, Phil? 220? Maton in a much shorter. Maton's hitting over 300. Faster or just as fast. Fine in the field. I don't know if Matt Vierling's better than Nick Maton at this point. The one guy I can tell you that's not better, Bradley Zimmer. Bradley Zimmer needs to be DFA'd the moment that they can do anything else in center field. But
is it an overreaction statement to say that Dave Dombrowski should have just brought Odubel back instead of signing him? I mean, we all hate him, and we're all glad he's gone and off this team. But realistically speaking, he might actually do a little bit more on this team than
A
Zimmer.
little bit more, but who knows?
I haven't even
what he
taught
would do
myself
there.
what Zimmer's first name is because I don't really care.
Bradley, yeah.
Is it Bradley? I couldn't have
What
told
was
you
I
that.
going to say?
I
Oh,
don't
but
know.
then, has anyone seen? So I don't know if you saw, we sent Hall down for assignment this
Oh, I did
morning.
not see that.
So he can play every day. And then when the rosters expand, September 1st or September 2nd, basically around when Bryce is coming up, he'll be brought back up as a piece off the bench. But Boehm came out of the game with a quad injury or a hammy injury last night.
I did not see that.
He did, and I haven't seen anything about it, so I guess that means good news. Like, it's fine. But my God, dude, this team isn't the most injury-plagued, unlucky team I've seen this season. I don't know who is. So you get knock on wood, Boehm's quad's fine. Knock on wood, Schwarber can get back out in the field when Bryce returns because he literally has to. There's nowhere else for him to go. It's going to be wild. Once Bryce comes back to see.
I'm scrolling through Twitter right now trying to find some information about this stuff. Yeah, I don't know. Let's talk something positive for a minute here about the Phillies. Noah Syndergaard.
Oh.
Second straight game with one or less run. Everybody freaked out when he did not, pitch amazingly in his first debut, 140 degrees, under the lights at Citizen Bank Park. And he still pitched really well in that game. First complete game of the season for the Phillies, actually. Or no, that was his second outing when the short game. But 7 innings, 1 run. Noah Syndergaard, and he's pitching small, 7 innings. He had 80 pitches last night, something
89,
like that. 89 pitches. Pretty damn good performance. Second outing in a row from him. What are your thoughts on Noah Syndergaard?
Noah Syndergaard gave you the biggest start that he could have possibly given you last night, considering how depleted the bullpen was going to be, considering that the weather seemed to be a problem early on in the night. My God, dude, if they had a rain delay through the 3rd or 4th inning and he couldn't go back out there, last night could have been a complete and utter disaster. And I know everybody's concerned, people are concerned that he only threw 1 strikeout and that he only had 2 guys whiff on pitches last night. A lot of balls were put in play. Nothing was hit.
I was going to bring that up.
Nothing was hit hard. And I know it's the Reds, so if he can't miss bats against better teams or playoff caliber teams, that might be a problem. But guess what? Over this stretch, he doesn't have to. And he's most likely not going to pitch in the postseason if he doesn't have to. So don't worry about that. And from what I've seen from him through these 4 starts, A, they've won all 4 games. B, you've seen a complete 180, a complete transformation of how he's pitching and how his outings are going. His first 2 starts, he got hit a lot. He only went 4 or 5 innings in each, even although they won both games. The last 2 games, his control and command's a lot better. His pitch count's a lot better, and he's gone through 7 both times. And whatever this metric is, by Stuff Plus, whatever website that is, whatever. This is by @Eno. Noah Syndergaard has one of the worst 4-seam fastballs in the game. So he's cut his usage from 21% with the Angels to 7% with the Phillies. Wow. The changeup is below average, so he's cut that from 23% to 10%. Changing your mix is the easiest way to improve. You're seeing a lot more off-speed stuff. You're seeing a lot more sinkers from Noah Syndergaard, and he's like we talked about before, he's kind of retooling himself, relearning how to pitch without that 100-mile-an-hour fastball that he doesn't have anymore. And you're steadily seeing improvement right now.
That's the BCIB right there. Best catcher in baseball, calling the right pitches at the right time. I like that. But see, here's my question, though. I want to stay positive. Great job. Do you have the confidence, if Noah Syndergaard's got to go up against the Mets or the Braves, that, look, let's be honest. I'm looking at this Reds lineup from last night. There's one name that really, truly stands out. Moustakas. As a guy that's got major experience. Fraley? Is that Hank Fraley? The former center for the Eagles? I don't know.
Jonathan India was the...
Who's that?
He was the Rookie of the Year last year.
What's that?
Jonathan India was the NL Rookie of the Year.
That's how little I know about Jonathan India.
But he struggled this year. He struggled.
Yeah, he's hitting 245. He's got a 700 OPS. All right, he's their best player then. And he walked twice last night, so he actually got on base last night against them. Do you have concerns that his lack of being able to miss bats will come back to bite the Phillies? Say we get through the first round of the playoffs, like you think we could potentially do, and you got to go up against a team like the Mets or, the Cardinals in the second round, a team that's got real professional MVP caliber hitters. They're not going to miss. They're not going to hit softly. They're going to put him in a position. He's going to have to be the fourth starter. Maybe, I don't know whether you go him or Gibson. I don't know. Do you have the confidence that he can come up big like that, even in the regular season, in a big moment against a real team?
Yeah. So there's obviously cause for concern, but I don't think I think it's a little short-sighted to think that just because it's a better team, those balls are going to get harder. If his control is on point, if that sinker is on point, if he's hitting the corners, if everything's low, there's no saying that just because it's a more talented lineup, that those balls that the Reds grounded out are now going to be line drives or home runs. No, they could be the same thing. If his location's on point and he's pitching well, it doesn't matter who the batters are if he's not missing bats. Definitely a little bit of cause for concern because you don't want to only strike out one against the Braves or the Mets, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be gap shots and line drives and everything like that. So, I don't know. This pitching rotation is weird, man. I would say that we struggle with who's the fourth, Gibson or him. And for 4 starts straight, Gibson looks phenomenal. And for 2 starts straight, Syndergaard looks to struggle. Well, guess what? Now Gibson just had one of his worst performances in a huge moment last Sunday, and Syndergaard's thrown 2 really good games in a row. I have no idea who deserves that 4th spot at the moment.
That's that inconsistency. While you were talking there, I've been all over Twitter trying to find something on Bohm. The only thing I could find on Bohm is, from post game yesterday, Gelb said it, and a few other people said it, that he's fine. He's dealt with a slightly banged up quad for a while now, and that he wanted a stolen base. He wanted to give Bohm a little bit of a break, and that's why he went with it. Yeah, I mean,
please be telling the truth.
Yeah, exactly. Any thoughts on today's game for the Phillies before we move on to the What's Trending segment of the day?
No, man, not really. Again, it's a bad Mets team. You have to go out there and do your job, do what you did last night, maybe to a little bit greater of an extent. 4-1. Not the 4-1 wasn't good enough, but a little bit close for comfort after Castellanos and Stott went back to back in the first, and you thought they would really open that game up. But go out there.
Confidence that Nick Lodolo, who completely dominated us, the last.
Oh, he's on the mound tonight.
Oh, he's on the mound tonight. Yes.
Nice. No,
so it's a team that just got dominated by a young guy who's got. I mean, I watched a lot of that game. He's got some pretty good stuff. If they can figure out a way to, really develop him, they've got something there. He's got some filthy stuff there. Any concerns that this team hasn't figured it out?
I'm not going to give anything away because there will be DSM pregame live. I don't know if the Beard's joining me or not tonight. But
dangle a little carrot out there for the fans.
Yeah. But I do think they get to Nick Lodolo tonight. I don't think they allow what happened last Wednesday to happen again. But we'll see. It's never pretty when the back end of your lineup features Matt Bierling, Nick Maton, and Bradley Zimmer. So,
dude, that's no offense. Like, I know we're talking all this positivity about this team, but the back end of that lineup is just.
Well, that's why they need to get healthy. It changes everything when they get healthy.
Yeah, it does.
I don't know when Brandon Marsh is supposed to come back, but hopefully he freaking does.
Yeah, I mean, who would have thought Brandon Marsh is a key cog in this lineup?
Yeah, I know.
That's not good. All right, so we rolled it out like 2 weeks ago, and we'll finish. We'll talk more Phillies pregame live. Dylan, maybe me. I don't know who else. Whatever. We'll figure that out as the day goes on here. But we rolled out a segment a couple weeks ago on the show. Haven't done it again, but I want to do it again. So what we're doing here, something called What's Trending. I'm going to pull up my Twitter page. We're going to pull up what's trending on Twitter, sports-wise. I don't want to get too political or anything else. I want to pull up what's trending, and we're just going to randomly talk about it for the next 15 minutes here as we roll out the rest of the show. And my guess is there's going to be some really interesting things. What the heck is showing up on my Twitter page there? All right, what's trending? Sports. All right, you got it up there?
Yeah, I'm
of
looking. I'm
course.
scrolling through.
First thing trending on my sports page.
Oh,
Dennis
God,
Rodman
yeah,
going to Russia this week to help free Brittany Griner.
yeah,
Let's address this for a minute here, Dylan.
yeah, sure.
All right, I don't want to get too serious and too political. If you were president of the United States, Dylan, is Dennis Rodman the guy you'd be sending to Russia to save Brittany Griner?
If it was North Korea, sure. Russia, probably not. And
Supposedly he's got a good relationship with Putin too, just like
really,
Kim Jong-un or whatever.
Kim Jong-un.
Whatever his name.
But yeah, unless he has a great relationship with Putin and somehow just talk to him and get her home. I don't know what his plan. What does he mean? He's going to Russia to help free her.
He wants to talk to Putin. He wants to sit down with Putin, and he is going to negotiate. He thinks her release.
From my knowledge, that doesn't end too well. But who knows? I've seen weirder things that happen, I guess. And Dennis Rodman's out there, man, and he's got some crazy friends.
If Dennis Rodman shows back up here in the United States in about 6 or 7 days, gets off his private jet, and there is Brittany Griner standing by his side, is he the biggest American hero? Should he run for president? I mean, we're making light of a very serious situation with Brittany Griner and all, but this trending online is insanity.
I'm not trying to.
Our world is coming to a point where Dennis Rodman has to be the one doing this.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be insensitive to Brittany Griner being locked away for months on end in freaking Russia.
She got a 9-year suspension for a weed pen,
Yeah, I know. But the Dennis Rodman point's the one that's throwing me off here.
Who would you rather? Who else? Like, I'm sitting here thinking, who am I sending over there? I'm thinking I'm calling Dwayne Johnson. Be like, yo, Rock, strap that belt on, head on over there, lay a few rock bottoms, and she'll come out. She'll come home with you. I don't know if Dennis Rodman is my choice to send over there.
Well, it's funny, right? Because whenever I see stuff about free Brittany Griner or someone's going to go help free her, like Dennis Rodman says he is, my mind just immediately goes to, what are they breaking into the facility? Are they're running out of the prison like in Stranger
Dennis
Things?
Rodman in a movie, like an action movie once, like back in the late 90s, early 2000s, Double Trouble or something like that?
Maybe.
Where it was him and something. Like, he was the big guy and he was the action, the physical guy, and he had a comedy sidekick, and they had to save the world or something like that.
He really does, bro.
He literally have a relationship. I think he is a commie, probably.
Dude,
honestly,
he literally, if you just chill and hang out with Kim Jong-un, there's a major problem. So it would not surprise me if he's got a relationship of some sort with Putin. Phil, we should probably move on before our computer shut off and someone comes and takes us. But
yeah, because Putin's watching this and all right, let's see. Obviously, Monday Night Football, Jets beat the Falcons. Do you even care?
Nope.
All right. Who is Yuri Hillmans? I don't even know who that is.
You want me to know who that is? I don't know.
Soccer. It's something to do with soccer. We're going to pass on that one.
Yeah.
Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz is trending this morning.
Ooh, let's see.
All right, I got to ask you, before we even click on why, are you even remotely interested in how Carson Wentz does in Washington, for the good or for the bad? Are you paying attention to Carson Wentz in Washington? Because I am.
Yeah, of course, and especially now that he's back in the division. I thought people that paid a close attention to what he did in Indianapolis last year was a little strange to me. But now that he's back in the division, you're going to see him twice a year. Kind of how they play and how their success, affects the Eagles in a sense. So of course you should be paying attention. And if he puts up numbers like he did in Indy last year, the Commanders, I almost forgot their new name. They're not the football team anymore. The Commanders could be okay. I'm not saying they're good, but the Commanders could win 7 or 8 games if he's good, or what he was last year. Exactly, and I agree with Scotty. This is truly the first time you're seeing Carson Wentz with a true number one option at wide receiver. Forget the year with Alshon Jeffrey. Come on, obviously Alshon Jeffrey played a big role in the Eagles winning their only Super Bowl. He wasn't at number one like Terry McLaurin is. Michael Pittman Jr., not only is he still extremely young, I'm just not a Michael Pittman Jr. guy. I don't think he's a number one on a good team. So that's what he had to work with last year. So we'll see what he does with Scary Terry.
I think he's trending because there's a tweet here by this guy, Matt Valdovinos. Eagles fan act like Jalen Hurts wasn't worse than Carson Wentz last year. But he was. Was Carson Wentz better than Jalen Hurts last year?
I mean, listen, this isn't to
one team made the playoffs, one team didn't. I'm just going to throw that out there.
No, I hear you 110%. But in terms of quarterback play, Wentz was better. Sure, yeah. I mean, that's not an indictment on Hurts in his rookie year. I'm just saying Wentz was better.
All right.
I'm sure people come to me for that.
Jamal Crawford's trending. Mark on the court. Yeah, I don't know what this is.
I saw something. He had a lead or a run. Let's see. Yeah, I did see that. Yeah. LeBron showed up. And then something happened, though. They had to stop the game, or I saw it on Twitter for a second.
Okay.
LeBron tweeted that, they were having a ton of fun, but they had to stop playing for circumstances out of their control or something. I forget what had happened. But there you go, Phil. The Brewers over the Dodgers.
Where? Oh, down there. Yeah, hold on. No. We got Desmond Ritter is trending. Is this a big play last night on a game? Oh yeah, fires a great pass over the middle. That's the future of the Atlanta Falcons right there, guys.
Oh,
look at this. Hangs in there, takes a hit, or almost took a hit. Wasn't a bad. That was the Jets. We know the Jets can't cover anybody.
That's a tight throw, though, dude.
Yeah, it's not bad.
That's listen, if you have Kyle Pitts,
some of these rookie quarterbacks, him and what's his name up in Pittsburgh, is are looking pretty damn good at the moment in preseason games.
Yeah, seriously. And what was I going to say? If you have Kyle Pitts in fantasy football, you probably want Desmond Ritter to probably start right off the bat, because I don't know how Marcus Mariota is going to look.
I actually on a fantasy
hiatus on a backup.
On a fantasy football purpose, I actually like as a back end depth pickup Marcus Mariota, because he's going to get the rushing attempts. He's going to be they're going to be down in a lot of games, Atlanta. So he's going to be scrambling for his life. He's going to get a lot of rushing yards on rollouts.
I just see a lot of interceptions.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm not saying they're going to win games.
I know.
If you don't get Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen, and say you get a bottom top 10 guy, and you want a backup guy just for depth purposes, or say you draft Tom Brady, and you don't know what's going on with Tom Brady. I don't know if he's trending today or not. If Kyle Pitts is money in fantasy for real this year, because Marcus Mariota, last time he started regular games with the Raiders, there was a stretch like 2 years ago when Carr was injured. He had the highest percentage of targets to tight ends in football. So he throws to tight ends all the time. And if he doesn't make it and they bring in Ritter, what do rookie quarterbacks do? Throw to their tight ends. Yeah. Oh, I'm drafting Devontae Adams 110% over Stephen Diggs. 110%. Derek Carr, Devontae Adams is my number one pair in fantasy football. I think Derek Carr is going to put up massive numbers this year. Yeah, you definitely did. Yeah. That's why you wanted in the draft this year. You got to recap or rebound from your awful performance last year.
Dude, I just say
George and Scotty had the worst. I'm going to pull this off the screen for a second.
Well, Scotty
had the worst fantasy football year. Scotty drafted 27 quarterbacks.
Draft, yeah.
On auto draft. And George drafted a bunch of rookies that didn't play.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's good. And then George, I remember I got on the back end, I got screwed on running back, and George was so high on Antonio Gibson. And I know that's probably another trending topic too, because people in Washington are freaking out over Antonio Gibson. But not that he was bad last year, but man, Antonio Gibson was far from an RB1 from a fantasy perspective. Can I just say though, I have the DSM league still to go, and I have 2 this weekend, not by choice, dude. People in March, people were like, "Yo, we're doing a keeper league. There's a spot open. Can you do it?" Yeah, sure. Completely forgot about it. August hits. They're texting, "What day are we doing the draft?" Well, God, now I'm in 3-4 freaking leagues. Here's my thing. I set the bar so high in my first draft. I don't think I can top it, Phil.
When there's only 4 people in the draft, of course it's
First of all, it's a low league, sure, but it's 8, and that's the base. It's not like it was a 6-person league. It was 8, okay? But
oh man, this is a tough question.
I'm rolling with Kenny, bro.
It depends.
And I don't even know if Kenny starts.
Yeah, so no, I'm rolling with Mariota early in the season.
Yeah,
because I don't think Kenny Pickett starts. But I'm keeping an eye on Pittsburgh. If there's even a glimmer of a rumor that Kenny might start at some point, they still got Deontay Johnson. They still got Chase Claypool. They still got Najee Harris. He could be a good late flyer for sure.
Dude, and have you seen like the reports and the video coming out about George Pickens in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, I mean he's
kid.
Look, my man Neil Cooling, he was on the show last week talking. He covers the Steelers for Steelers Wire, and I DM'd him after I saw the highlights from the last Pittsburgh game. I'm like, yo, is there a controversy? Because he flat out said on the show that Trubisky's starting week 1. I'm like, look, did you just see what happened? He's like, no, Trubisky's still starting week 1.
I think I agree. I think Trubisky and Mariota both start week 1, but I think both of their clocks have already begun to tick. And I think at some point this season, both Pickett and I'm telling you, Ritter gets in at some point this year. I think Atlanta's going to be a bottom 3 team, a bottom 2 team. Like they're that.
They might only win 2 or 3 games this year.
Yeah, and Mariota, dude, when you haven't started in this league in 3+ seasons, you can't just jump right back into the swing of things. And even before he was a backup, he was number 2 overall pick. He was what he was. He was okay as a passer. Like, so him coming to Atlanta with no weapons, they're going to be bad. And at some point, the fans are just going to be clamoring for the rookie.
Mm-hmm. Did you see Matt Corral is out? Corral is out for the season, and Baker Mayfield is to name the starter in Carolina.
Well, first of all,
is that the right decision in Carolina?
Baker should have already been named the starter, man. You know what? Listen, let's have off topic. However, I'm not.
There is no topic. We're talking what's trending right now.
Yeah, I'm not talking. I'm not Baker Mayfield's number 1 supporter. Okay, and I know he struggled last year, but my man played through an injury all year long, and the year before that, he was phenomenal and took Cleveland to their first playoff berth in over 2 decades, or however long it was since Cleveland's been in a playoff game. And they win. No, they lost the playoff game. I think they lost Pittsburgh. I forget. However, he was really good 2 years ago. Played through an injury last year. Baker Mayfield, without a doubt, without one training camp, should have been the starter over Sam Darnold. It shouldn't have taken I get it's optics, whatever. Should not have been 2 preseason games in, and you name Baker the starter. He's the guy.
Yeah, I agree with you 110%. There's literally I love it.
Wait, wrong
show.
The right show. No, it's correct show. We're just missing
show. Wrong guest co-host today for that one. Yeah, I agree with you, and I agree with what Scotty's saying. Baker done
really
for sure.
Well, no, but the second part, see, I don't know, Scotty. I think it works out kind of. I think Carolina can be fun this year. Like I don't know.
Look,
with the Bucs
I've already said it. A couple of my employees had a big fantasy draft last night, and they were asking me top 10 and stuff like. They were asking me questions to prep, and I told them, if he stays healthy, I guarantee you, Christian McCaffrey is running back number 1. If I had the number 1 overall pick, which I don't, Jason Voorhees does in the DSM league, I'd be taking Christian McCaffrey number 1 overall. Him, DJ Moore, and Baker Mayfield, they're going to have a really good – they're not going to win 10, 12 games in Carolina.
No.
But they're going to be a lot better than people realize. And if Christian McCaffrey even plays 15 games, you do it. Look, last year, I had the number 1 overall pick in DSM. I took Christian McCaffrey because that was what you were supposed to do. He got hurt pretty much immediately. He missed 90% of the season last year. Guess what? I still took 3rd place. Just because you lose your first overall pick does not mean your season's over. You got to make good moves on the waiver wire and stuff like that, which I did, getting Cordell Patterson after week 1. Cordell Patterson carried. Christian McCaffrey.
Phil, see what happens this season. Yeah.
Hey, I'm the guy in 2009, I believe it was, picked up Peyton Hillis off the waiver wire after week 1. And Peyton Hillis ended up being the Madden cover child the next season because he was so good.
What a guy.
That year, let me tell you this, my best fantasy season ever. Drafted 1st round Maurice Jones-Drew because he was always a 1st round running back. 2nd round, Steven Jackson. Everybody forgets how great Steven Jackson was. Then I drafted in the 9th round some unknown kid from Houston named Arian Foster, who went on to have
I was just going to bring
1,600
him up.
yards.
Dude, I think
And then I
we
pick up
took
Peyton
for
Hillis.
granted. We
For the
took for
top
granted
500.
that era of running backs.
Oh my god!
Like when you had and this is even post like LT, like the LT and Sean Alexander era and the Priest Holmes and Jamal Lewis in that era when I was really young was incredible. But then even when you get to like the late 2000, like the right before the 2010s, and then that little bit of time when you had AP, Steven Jackson, Chris John, remember CJ2K, Jamal Charles, Arian Foster, Maurice Jones-Drew, and there was one more that I just had on the tip of my tongue. Turner. Was it Michael Turner? Remember he was the fullback for the Chargers and then went to the Falcons and was a monster in Atlanta? We're 33. I'm pretty sure it was Michael Turner. I could be wrong with the first name.
Baker or Jameis Winston this year?
Oh.
In a fantasy perspective,
Jameis.
I'm going to go Jameis, actually, because especially if is Michael Thomas healthy? I know he was practicing. I don't know if he's going to play. Getting a guy of his talent back, he's going to be really good. Michael Turner, George is saying, you're right on that.
Dude,
even sexy Rexy Grossman caught a break every now and then. Rex Grossman was an awesome fantasy quarterback. Sexy Rexy right there, man. The fact that you remember, what you did, dude, it was the greatest thing because I was 13-0 and I lost. I got demolished in the championship game because all 4 of my running backs got sat because of injuries and playoffs and everything else. So that is why I remember that, because it was the greatest and the worst ending. So yeah, I do remember that 110%. DSM Media Fantasy Football League draft next Thursday night. We're gonna live stream it. The whole entire, maybe not the whole draft. Depends on how quick.
That's a long draft.
Yeah, it's a long draft. So the first hour or two of it will be live streamed right here, and all of us from DSM are going to be in the stream, busting chops nonstop. When somebody drafts Michael Turner in the first round, I'm going to be busting some chops. And maybe I'll find some screenshots of Georgia's team from last year. Maybe I'll find some screenshots of Scotty's draft from last year. We'll pull it all up. We'll see how it all works out. Yeah, that Peyton Hillis year, man. Dude, I don't know what was better, me picking up Peyton Hillis that year or me picking up Cordell Patterson last year after week 1.
Oh, come on, man. Don't do Peyton Hillis like that.
Dude, that was the year you picked up Cordell Patterson didn't get on the cover of Madden after 1 year or so. Peyton Hillis did.
No.
So.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Come on, man.
All right, we got to wrap this program up for the day. Trending in the AM right here on DSM Media. Again, if you're watching on replay on YouTube, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Make sure you follow everybody, part of Team DSM, but of course, my man Dylan Davis.
Are you ready?
Oops, wrong cue card right there. There we go. Dylan Davis.
Rolling out the red carpet today.
Yeah, rolling out the red carpet. Me, Bearded Knowledge on Twitter, guys. Greatly appreciate it. Everybody have a great day. We'll be back tomorrow. Jason will be back. Go talk some Eagles tomorrow. We'll see what happens with the Phillies as well. Phillies pregame live.
Faithful Fanatics at 5.
Faithful Fanatics at 5. Stay locked into DSM Media. We got lots going on all day long. And if you're interested in joining Team DSM, we're looking for social media managers, interns, other shows, whether it's Philly sports, college, whatever it may be. If you're interested in doing sports. Hey, I thought we were going to get to it. We ran out of time. Trending in sports is a lot of wrestling. I would love to have a wrestling show on Team DSM. If you want to do a wrestling podcast, hit me up. It would be a blast. Everybody have a great day. We'll talk to you later. And, of course, I'm always ready.
And Philadelphia has it.